The joke, Pete, is you.
Well, no, right before, right before the red light came on, I said, "Oh, to start this episode, I got to think of a joke." Taylor, quick as a whip. He's like, "Oh, I know of a joke, Pete."
Peter Kingsley.
Oh gosh, I had
Do you know what the punchline is?
No.
I don't. I was going to be real mean, and I decided not
Oh,
to.
thank you.
That was.
Wow.
Yeah.
You could have just put in a beep and everyone would
I'm
be like, "Oh
so
my
good at
gosh."
being. I'm so good at being mean, and I'm so good with the quick insult, and it's not a skill that has. It's well, it's brought my life joy. I don't know if it's made the world a better place necessarily.
Everyone's quiet in the room and you're just laughing it up and loving life. That's
I
what's
know, like
important.
someone's in the corner silently weeping to themselves. How could you be so mean? Like, because it makes me happy. You piece of garbage. You worthless, worthless piece of garbage.
No,
I'm
but
a
everyone
bad
who knows, no, everyone who knows Taylor can laugh along. If you learn to laugh at yourself, then
Oh gosh.
you can learn to laugh with Taylor.
If you abandon the need for self-respect, Taylor's a great hang.
Oh no, everyone needs to learn to laugh at themselves a little bit. If you take yourself too seriously, you're bound by perfectionism and you worry about your reputation. You become prideful. You know, everyone needs to learn to laugh at themselves a little bit.
Yeah, I am legitimately good at cutting people down a little bit. In a loving way, I'm sure they would not say.
Oh, well, I don't know. The times that I've received from you have always been with a wink and a smile, so I take it well.
I do try to be very careful not to cross that line, and if I do, I try to apologize as quickly as I possibly can.
Well, if any of you listeners have any friends that overstep the line, let us know, and Taylor will set them straight.
That's right.
Send
I'll
him
just be the meanest.
scathing email or something.
The best and worst thing about being a therapist, if you're not practiced at it, is you can see everything that makes a person really uncomfortable, and you have to do your job, so you can name it and hold it and manipulate it, and by that I mean like move it around and try different things with it. But what that also means is like you know how to really cut someone down really quick.
Yeah.
So I tell people I use my powers for good.
That is really important, to see things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And seeing things that are uncomfortable can be good or bad. If you're like Taylor saying, seeing things in other people that are uncomfortable, if you're seeing things in yourself that are uncomfortable, it's often easy to get stuck, because then your superpower becomes seeing things in yourself that are uncomfortable, and you must fix them. I have to fix them. Or seeing things in the world that make you uncomfortable and you have to fix them. And so if you have sensitivity to seeing things that are uncomfortable, it could be that you're anxious, or you could be a really good therapist.
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing some people listening to this going, or are you just paying attention to what's happening in the world right now?
Oh, yeah. Or you're realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. We try not to talk politics, but like, goodness gracious, Pete, what is happening in our country right now?
I'll tell you what's happening. We're going to get another state. We're going to get Greenland. This is the way it should be, Taylor. We're going to get the Arctic. Control of the Arctic is what's important.
I really feel like I need to say explicitly that was a joke response from Pete, that he did not actually mean that.
I meant it completely. I think.
I'm trying to save you, Pete.
Yeah, we could take Greenland. No problem.
Here I am trying to like have a moment to like, we're talking about anxiety, to name things that actually people are anxious about, and I don't want to downplay it. And Pete's like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me that Arctic weather gear for military service. I'll head over there in a heartbeat. I think they're going to send troops over in cruise ships. I'll do the Norwegian cruise ship to Greenland.
Oh my gosh, dude. Real talk, Pete. It really scares me to see what's happening. Like, legitimately, I am terrified seeing what's happening.
Yes. Trying to avoid talking politics. But every day is a head spin when I come out to my room and I tell my wife what what's going on in the government and what's going on in the world, and both of us kind of look at each other like, are we in a simulation? This is I thought
Yeah.
this is not parody. This sounds like an Onion News article, and this is actually coming out of Fox News. It's unbelievable.
You a Fox News fan, Pete?
No, no, but I get both on my
Oh,
feeds. I get New York
gotcha.
Times and CNN, Fox News. Actually, since I've joined this profession of being a therapist, I think the algorithms, the internet's project me as pretty liberal, and yet my engagement is conservative, and so I get both. So they're like,
Yeah.
you're a liberal because you're a therapist, and the other one is like, well, actually, you engage in like religious and other conservative stuff, so you must be conservative. So
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think I'm naming this because we are talking about anxiety today, but we're not talking about it in a necessarily a clinical space. We're talking about the pop psychology version of it, which is to say what it's been co-opted into.
yeah, the,
So I
the,
kind of want to start by talking about what I'm actually anxious about, which is to say, like, man, I have I have family who grew up in Minneapolis, and seeing what's happening there is horrifying.
mm,
I live in Texas, and the threat of ICE raids and the oh my gosh, dude, it's a lot. It is so much, and I don't like it. And I would even go so far, Pete, as to say that I hate it. I really, really hate it.
yeah, that's real, and I think a lot of people are struggling with that. And to struggle with it, are we calling it anxiety? And that the problem is that in anxiety can mean two things. One is I feel anxious, and the other is a disorder, like an anxiety disorder. And I think when we're talking about that, it's kind of crossing the line. And I found some references on TikTok that mention anxiety, and we worry that they're talking about clinical anxiety, our wheelhouse. That when you say,
Mm,
do you have a disorder of anxiety, or do you feel anxious? Those are very two
yeah.
different things. And I think sometimes they do cross the line and say, you have anxiety. You have anxiety. Whoa, that's different. Having anxiety is different than feeling anxious.
Yes. Yes. So let's start at the beginning, and I guess when we get to the end, to quote the Mad Hatter, we can stop.
Stop.
So, Mr. Kingsley,
Yeah.
soon to be Dr. Kingsley,
Now give me a few
what
years.
is anxiety? What is actual anxiety from a clinical sense?
Oh, actual anxiety. Well, when I clinically look at actual anxiety, I look at the most common assessment for anxiety, which is the GAD-7, generalized anxiety disorder. Generalized anxiety disorder, and it's 7 questions. And interestingly enough, it is not a yes or no. It's not a plus or minus. Um, it is
Non-binary.
non-binary. So you actually answer these questions on a scale of 0 to 3, and your therapist gets these scores back on anything from 0 to 21. And the questions are: do you feel anxious, nervous, or on edge? Not able to stop or control worrying. Worrying about a lot of different things. Like your mind goes pop, pop, pop to a lot of different things. It's not a single focused, I worry about this thing. And then because your mind goes pop, 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 you have problems relaxing, and then you're being so restless that it's hard to sit still. Like when I actually sitting with someone, like, are you having a hard time sitting down right now? And they answered a 3 on that one, but then they're like, no, this is a comfortable office. So that takes some discernment too, or unable to sit still.
Hmm.
Becoming easily irritable or annoyed. That's because all your energy is going towards these futuristic worries, and then feeling afraid as if something bad might happen. You have this impending sense of doom, like something bad will happen. You can't even tell what it is, but something bad will happen. So those are the 7 clinical criteria for anxiety, and you can tell that those,
According to the GAD-7.
according to the GAD-7 and the DSM. So the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. So if you meet those criteria to a certain level, and the therapist can rule out other types of diagnoses and medical conditions, then you might have a clinical anxiety disorder. However,
Yeah.
you'll notice that these symptoms may be familiar to a lot of people who don't have clinical anxiety, like being restless, being
Yeah.
annoyed and
Yeah.
irritable. I mean, so when you ask me what is anxiety, I would say It is it is your mind working on imagined threats in the future. Is what its brain is supposed to do.
Yeah.
Determine threats into the future. And anxiety is this feeling like something bad is going to happen. And if it can't find it, it'll come up with something.
I there's a couple things I want to add on top of that. One is the GAD-7 as a diagnostic tool is very interesting in that it's extremely fluid, which is to say it's not asking about in your life, it's asking about a period of the previous 2 weeks, which means
Yeah.
that in theory, you can take the GAD-7 every 2 to 3 weeks and get a different score every time you take it. Anxiety is a very fluid experience, and as a thing, anxiety isn't it's not a block. It's more like a bucket, and it'll be full to varying amounts at different times. And depending how fast or slow you're moving, it's more difficult to contain. So if I have a full bucket, but I'm not going anywhere, it's easier to maintain functioning within anxiety. But if I have a full bucket and I've got to do a bunch of stuff, then it starts getting everywhere and it becomes really problematic.
Yes, that's a
There's something
yep.
that you've said a couple times that I've always kind of wanted to push back on, but not because I think you're wrong, but just because I'm curious to see your thoughts on it. I don't know that anxiety doesn't exist as a past experience, because you hear about people like lying in bed and their eyes shoot open. They remember that thing they said when they
Wait,
were in fourth grade.
you don't know if it doesn't exist as a like you're saying anxiety.
Yeah, you're
When I say
saying
anxiety lives in the future, it's what do I say?
yeah, anxiety's in the future,
Got it.
depression's in the
Okay.
past, right? You've said
Yeah.
that a couple times.
Okay.
But there are things that people will come in my office and talk about, or like, I remember that thing I said when I was a kid, and it feels like anxiety to think about that thing that is already done. It doesn't feel like depression because it's not lethargic. It's not bad. It's just like, oh my goodness, what were they thinking? How did they think about me? What's going to happen? Do other people think me that way? But they're taking a past experience and they're focusing on that, and that is giving them the anxiety.
I would say the same way that your brain will come. Well, these are my thoughts about that.
Sure.
The same way that if your brain can't focus on this impending sense of doom, what is going to happen? It will come up with
Mhm.
something. And like we have to build a bomb shelter because this will happen. This could happen. It might happen. I don't know what the chances are, but you just feel very anxious about this thing. And those people who are worried about the consequences of a past action are building a bomb shelter for whatever reason. And it is because when they're
And
in
I can see that's future focused.
right, they're gonna say like, am I a bad person? Do I need to fix that like right now? Do I need to start working on the way I talk to people because then I'll lose all my friends? That's in the future. Are they
Mhm.
going to come back and they're going to harass me on Facebook because of what I said to them? That's in the future. So I would still say that
Okay.
even though they're anxious about something that happened in the past, they're building their bomb shelter because of what's going to happen.
That makes sense. Okay, that's some good nuance. A good little bit of nuance. I feel like there's the clinical representation of what anxiety is that maybe some people don't connect to. Like, oh, well, I've got the following diagnostic criteria exemplified by blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I try and tailor things down for everybody because I assume people are as dumb as I am. And so I describe anxiety and depression in the same way. And forgive me if I've already done this, but people might just be jumping in for this as a first episode. I think that anxiety is just a really shitty time machine. So let's think about this from an existential place, right? Existentially speaking, the only thing that exists is right now. There are things that exist dead, things that we assume will exist, but truly the only thing that exists is right now. It's a
Okay.
constantly changing thing that exists, but it is the only thing that exists. And anxiety will try and take you to a place in the future. And because the future doesn't exist yet, we can't do anything about it. We can't touch it. We can't manipulate it. We can do things to prepare for it, but the actual future moment does not exist. And so anxiety as a really shitty time machine is your brain saying, fix this thing now. We'll go to this place and we'll fix it. But you can't. And that's what makes it an effective shitty time machine. It literally, you can do nothing about it, but your brain is like, we're going there anyway. Here we go. We got this.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's where like that sense of like, there's no control, I think kind of comes from, because you're trying to control a thing that doesn't exist. You might as well be trying to like make the dragon in front of your house put the garbage cans on fire. Like, it's not going to happen because the dragon isn't really there.
And to bring it to like current events. It would be like somebody saying, "We are invading Greenland." That why are we doing that? Versus there's a bill at the House right now to annex Greenland. One of those is true, and one of those is anxious. It's like one of them doesn't exist. We're not invading Greenland right now. That's not happening. There's a bill on the House. So what can you do about that right now?
Is there really a bill at the House to annex Greenland?
Oh, yes. But there's also a bill just introduced that we cannot use military force against any other NATO country, which seems asinine that we have to introduce a bill that says that. But in any case, um,
Ugh.
yeah,
What is wrong with this country right now?
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the bill says basically Greenland will be
Let
the
me rephrase
fifth.
that actually. This is an important rephrase, if you'll let me.
Yes,
Not what is wrong with our country. What is wrong with the leadership of our
leadership
country?
of our country. Yes, our country is full of good, logical people. Anyway, what was I saying? Um,
You were saying that you
oh,
wanted to give me
one's
anxiety by telling me there's a bill.
yes, exactly. So one is true, one is not. So that, interestingly enough, if you focus on the now, it is actionable, whereas the future is not. We're not invading Greenland. You can't go and do anything about that because it's actually not true. It's not happening. But you can write to your political leaders and ask them to support certain measures. That is actionable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Anxiety being fluid every 2 weeks. What's important about that is when these things, like we're dealing with, are persisting beyond 2 weeks, somebody may take the GAD-7 and score highly over the course of 4 to 6 weeks. And so a therapist not discerning or not having the time to hash it out will just say, oh, anxiety disorder, boom. When really current events are lasting that long and they have a right to be anxious over the course of 6 weeks. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking about anxiety, the difference between pop anxiety and um, and actual clinical anxiety is really important. So I kind of
Yeah.
wanted to, but I just had a fun rabbit hole with this. But I went through TikTok and looked up anxiety and what some people said. So these are what I assume people said were part of clinical anxiety, not just feeling anxious. Everyone knows when they're feeling anxious, but this is from like 17-year-old girls with the cameras on them pointing to words on the screen. It was funny. So 5 habits that are anxiety. 1, saying
That are anxiety.
that are anxiety.
Not habits that indicate anxiety, but that are anxiety.
Yes, this is
An
anxiety.
important linguistic distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are anxious, that means you are anxiety, or this feeling, a habit is anxiety. You can't have a habit that is not anxiety. Oh, geez. That's such a weird way to say that. A habit that is anxiety. Yeah. Okay. Saying sorry when it's not your fault. That was not on the GAD-7. Being over apologetic. Thinking everyone is judging you. That might be. Not being able to sit still.
That's such a bad indicator because there's so much cross pollination with that.
Yes,
that could
exactly.
be anything from depression to schizophrenia.
Not being able to sit still. What you remember, one of the criteria, restless. You're not so restless that it's difficult to sit still. Yeah. Anyway, the next one, avoiding eye contact. Don't know where that came from.
Again, anything. Literally. I mean, oh my gosh, dude.
And then the last one is thinking you need to be perfect. Perfectionism can be a source of that, but that's I don't know.
Again, these are all like, this is like taking a look at a tree and like breaking a branch off and saying, look, I'm holding the whole tree. No, you are not.
Exactly. That's what it's like. It's like thinking someone needing to be perfect. I've sat with people who have anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and that is their worry. They're worried about what people think. They're worried about doing everything right, having their house in order, things like that. And I'm like, I didn't think about perfectionism. This is anxiety. It's like you're using perfectionism as the fuel, but that's anyway.
And I real quick want to jump in and say as well that when people say anxiety, they're usually referring to it as like a block. I have this thing is anxiety. Therefore, I have anxiety because I have this thing. Anxiety isn't one thing. Like if you have anxiety, and you know, we're as clinicians, I think, are kind of guilty of doing this too. Like, oh, you have anxiety, right? It's kind of a good shorthand. But what we're saying is not you have a block of anxiety. What we're saying is you have anxious presentation. you're presenting as anxious. But anxiety is a catch-all for a group or a clustering of types of diagnostics, right? Obsessive compulsive disorder is an anxiety disorder. Oh gosh, my brain just completely shut off. I couldn't.
Well, you have like you mentioned schizophrenia before. That's a yeah. You have panic
What?
disorder.
Panic disorder.
Yeah.
Schizophrenia is not an anxiety disorder.
No, it's not. But it presents like someone who's hearing voices from the
They
TV.
get anxious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, so like obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, even that, the issue isn't that you have a block of anxiety, it's that you have a cluster of symptoms that indicate you're anxious about general things. So like I'm not anxious, I have anxious presentation.
Yep.
And I think
Anxious presentation.
the reason that's an important thing to bring up is because you are not anxiety. You are not you have anxiousness. You are anxious about things, but you are not anxiety. And when we talk about kind of these pop psychology things, we're talking about the idea that you are not a diagnostic. You are not the diagnosis. You are a person who is experiencing symptoms of a diagnosis.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is a temptation. I don't know why, but it seems like a lot of the TikToks that I saw on the YouTube and the YouTube reels that I perused in terms of anxiety, people were proud, or like they really not proud of it, but they took it as a
Oh, it kills me.
personality thing. Like they're like, oh, I'm dealing with my anxiety is really high today because I had to do my hair 3 times. You know what that's like, girls. And I'm like, what what? Like this are you
Also,
people who
real
have
quick,
anxiety aren't usually like oh my gosh, it's like debilitating. It's horrible.
yes. This is maybe talking to kind of like the pop culture experience of anxiety. Pete keeps on referencing teenage girls saying they're anxious. And that's maybe a cliched approach. And this is not against what Pete is presenting, but it is to say like people who are not teenage girls also have anxiety,
Okay,
you know?
in my defense, those two that I saw, the 5 steps, like habits that are anxiety, and the hair thing, were both teenage girls. That's
Yes.
that was a fact.
And anxiety as a pop culture experience exists in more than just teenage girls who are saying silly things. I mean, anxiety can be misrepresented by anybody.
Yes, yes.
You'll have these alpha males who are like, "Are you anxious about getting chicks? Well, that just means that you're not man enough." Like why are you using anxiety to talk about having sex? That's the
Yeah,
stupidest thing in the world.
absolutely.
I'm not man enough. You're anxious about being a man. You're not a real man. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Oh, continue, Pete. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Wow. One of them you talked a bit about like other diagnoses that come up with anxious presentation, and one of them worried me was one person on TikTok said, "Does anyone know how to calm TF down?" And
And what does TF stand for, Pete?
I'm not saying it. That's your word.
That's my
Calm.
word.
Yeah.
The
Calm
is my word.
calm the down. The F
Calm the
down.
down.
Yeah. Anyway, they had their hand on their chest and you could tell their heart was racing, and they just can't calm down. They're like, their eyes were closed. They're trying to breathe and their eyes open. They're taking a video of themselves. So it's just a demonstration.
Oh
But
my gosh.
you
Yes.
really hate
Oh,
this. You really hate those
I do. I'm
demonstrative.
so anxious. I'm so anxious. Let me set up the camera to catch it. Let me make
Yeah.
sure I'm framed well. How do I fit in frame? And then make sure, like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
record. Boop.
Yeah.
Oh,
Record.
ready. And then this is, oh my God.
Okay. I'm
Oh,
sorry. Internet fakeness
no, I
aside.
need to finish. Let me finish. Ah! So what kills me about this is like in my mind's eye, this is like, I knew way too many actors in college, too many filmmakers.
Oh, you're from
And I
California. That's right.
always, yeah, I'm from California, but also, like I went to school in Utah, and I guess there are a ton of Californians in Utah. Anyway, the point is, whenever I see a bad actor or a thing being acted out poorly, I always in my mind can picture, okay, setting up the scene, action, them doing their version of it, cut, and then them talking about it. And so I'm picturing these people on TikTok or on Instagram setting up the camera, going through the process, hitting record, doing the thing, hitting stop, going back, looking at it, making sure they're happy with it, and then doing 4 takes to get the one they want. That is not anxiety.
Yeah.
Anxiety is not practiced. It's not performative. Real anxiety is, yeah.
Yeah, I can. I think that noise you made was actually a good representation. It was better than that acting I saw. um, she's talking
Sorry.
about her heart racing, and I thought, oh my goodness, are you okay? That's really when someone's in my office and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm kind of really anxious right now, and I'm like, okay. And I've had someone have panic attack in my office, and we actually had to get them
Mhm.
to the hospital because they have what
Mhm.
they call you have tachycardia, which is like technically it's your heart rate goes above 100 beats a minute with no exerted effort, and you have
Really?
your
That
heart
feels like
heart
a
rate goes
low
up.
heart rate number.
Yeah,
Is it really just 100?
I mean that's what I looked up.
Huh, I
Tachycardia
believe
was
you.
over 100 for a sustained period of time with no physical exertion. So
Hmm.
um, if somebody has that and they're feeling anxious for a period of time, it's kind of like, okay, we need to work on that because that's a medical thing. That's your heart is going crazy. That's may or may not be quote anxiety. There are some other things that may or may not be anxiety that have anxious presentation. Taylor mentioned obsessive compulsive disorder. That is, you have to get things right or else bad things will happen. It's not perfectionism, it's obsession. One guy I
Hmm.
worked with, he had to reread a word on a page. Words would catch him up. He'd read, but he'd catch a word and it would feel undone. He says it just feels like it has to be read until it's done. And he would read the word like 12 times until he felt okay with the word, and then he could move on with the page until he got stuck again. And it was everything from street signs to books, and he was in the Air Force, so it's really gummed him up. And that was OCD. This feeling like I have to get it done or else something bad will happen. Just this feeling of like this is not okay.
Yeah. And
Oh,
this is, so I guess it's worth saying, by the way, so this, what we're doing, this pop psychology thing is probably, it's going to be a series where we talk about different things. And I think we could very easily do a whole episode about the popular culture version of OCD.
oh yeah,
Um, Real OCD is debilitating. Like I knew a guy who, he would go to bed at night, but then he was like, what if I miss an email for work? And so he would wake up and he had to go through the process of turning his computer on, but he had to do it a specific way to make sure that he fully check the servers. He would do that, check it, go through the process, turn the computer off, put the computer away, get in bed. He did that 4 times a night.
oh my
And like,
goodness.
that's anyway,
And
we'll go
it's
more into this later.
and it's an illogical feeling. Like we say, they think something bad's going to happen, but this guy didn't really think that. It was uh, just this feeling inside of him that
Yeah.
something's wrong. You guys know that feeling? It's worrisome feeling of like I can't quite put a finger on it, but for them, it's like this is it. So anyway, that can present as anxiety for a long time until someone's like, "Wait, what's the problem?"
Hmm.
Next is acute stress disorder or PTSD. Those things are related, but they're trauma related diagnoses. Um,
Hmm. I remember when I found out that PTSD was an anxiety disorder in grad school, it kind of blew my mind.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
I guess, I mean, not I guess, at this point, it super makes sense to me, but post traumatic stress disorder is you're anxious about the thing that happened. See, this is why I was like, anxiety does exist in the past because PTSD is a past experience, but you're talking about the fear of what happens if it happens again, or it feels
Yeah,
like it's happening now.
yeah, yeah. It's you avoid that orange sweater because the last guy you saw with an orange sweater beat you up, so you can't
Yeah.
see orange sweaters anymore. PTSD and acute stress disorder is basically your filter is broken. Trauma doesn't know the difference between a bonfire and a birthday cake. They're both
Hmm.
hot, they're both fire, and they're both going to kill you. So that's what PTSD and acute stress disorder. But you meet somebody who will score super high on the GAD-7, incredibly high on the GAD-7, low on depression or midline on the depression, and you're like, depression and anxiety. That sounds like
Hmm.
trauma.
Yeah.
Uh,
And PTSD is another pop psychology episode we could very easily
oh
do if
yeah,
you
I think trauma. We could talk
trauma,
about that one.
especially.
Yep, panic disorder. You mentioned that one. I had put initially when it comes to personality disorders, I had initially put like false reporting because of personality disorders. But as I work with people with like borderline and narcissism, or avoidant personality disorder, I really believe that it's an oversensitivity to negative stimuli. Not necessarily
Mm.
that they're faking it to get attention, which is what most people think. Like you're faking this to be manipulative and dramatic. but it's really because they're so sensitive. Something happened and they feel it really, really strongly. And you wouldn't tell that. You just come to your therapist and say, "Oh, I have anxiety." You're like, "Well, actually, this is a personality disorder and you're really, really sensitive to minute things." Anyway, a lot of different things could present as clinical anxiety that are just
Mhm.
you feeling anxious.
Yes. And I'm glad we're kind of differentiating between a clinical diagnostic anxiety thing and being anxious, because clinical anxiety and clinically anxious diagnostic things are like debilitating. It becomes clinical when it prevents your capacity to function properly.
Yeah. You
You know, like
can't
I'm
set up a
anxious
camera.
about exactly, yeah, like, oh, I can't function. Well, actually make sure that I get the framing good. I
Yeah.
This is kind of an aside. I had a client who got kind of TikTok famous for very funny videos actually, but he told me he hated TikTok so much because he would like
Really
okay, I've got an idea
interesting.
for a video. I've got to set up the camera. And part of his thing is he would like, I'm going to dance. And so he would do these ridiculous dances that he hated doing because he just didn't like doing it, but it made him TikTok famous. So he just kept doing it. And he'd do the dance and go watch it. And he's like, on the fourth take, I hated everything about it. But he started getting like ad content because of it. And so he's like, I've got these contracts now where I have to dance. And
Oh my goodness. Really?
yeah,
The poor
yeah.
guy.
The social media game is ridiculous. He's doing just fine now. He's moved on from TikTok, bless his heart. And he's actually one of my favorite clients I've ever had.
He's
I love this guy to
graduated
death.
from TikTok.
Oh, dude, so what a cool guy. Anyway, the point is, this is another thing about the social media presentation of this. And dude, the social media presentation bothers me so much because that's how most people experience so much of the world these days is they see it on social media and they think that it's
Mhm.
true or that it's an accurate thing. Even if it is true, that doesn't make it accurate, to their experience of what it actually is. It's
Well,
important.
we'll talk
It's
about the difference. What's the difference between accurate, and true?
man, I knew as soon as I said, I was like, crap, Pete's gonna follow up on that. I'm gonna defend it.
Yeah, something.
I think that it is accurate to say that I have anxiety about a thing. It is not true that I am anxious, right? And that's
Uh,
like I'm not clinically anxious. I don't
oh,
have
okay.
clinical anxiety. Like again, like
I
the
put it.
things happening in Minnesota and Greenland, I'm anxious about them. Do I have clinical anxiety as a result? No. So it is accurate that I have anxiety, but it is not true that I have anxiety.
I got it. Okay. In a scientific sense, as I'm studying in school, we talk about accuracy and validity.
Hmm.
Accuracy is, are you close to the bullseye? And validity is, can you keep getting close to the bullseye, like reliability?
Yeah. Is the bullseye actually a bull's eye,
Yes.
or is it,
Yeah.
you
Are you
know,
shooting at the right
the bull's
target?
butt? Exactly.
I don't think it's actually a bull's eye. So
Yay.
true would mean it would be it'd be accurate and it would be valid. And you're
Hmm.
shooting at the right target and you're shooting near the bullseye would make it true.
Hmm.
So if you're saying I'm feeling anxious, you'd say, well, that's absolutely valid. You are shooting at the
Yeah.
right target. You are feeling these feelings. I validate those feelings. Actually, professionally, I can say those are valid. You're actually feeling those things. Are they
Hmm.
accurate? Are you shooting at the right or accurate? Are you getting near the bullseye of clinical anxiety? Yes or no? And will you talk about that for it to be
Well,
true?
we kind of you even talked about this a little bit before, going through like that ridiculous like where are they? 5 habits that are anxiety, not being able to sit still. It is accurate that you are not able to sit still. It is not true you are anxious because you can't sit still.
Yes,
That again,
exactly.
like that can be depression. Psychomotor agitation shows up in men, especially as depression like that. It could be you have ADHD. It could be that you're on cocaine. It could be that you're schizophrenic. It could be
Yeah, you have to parse out whether it is a valid. Are you shooting at the right target?
yes, accurate. You do have psychomotor agitation. It's not true that you're anxious because,
Yeah,
an example.
as an example, yes. So it was actually really fun to go through different social media posts and find out who said what about anxiety, because it reminded me of a client I had who actually at the end of our session, there's this joke at the end of every session, clients will like drop a bomb on a therapist. Like, oh, by the way, I was
Yeah.
abused when I was 7. See you next week. You're like, whoa,
I call
what?
it a doorknob.
Yeah.
You doorknob me.
Yeah. Doorknob confessions. But this one that I got was, oh, by the way, hey, do I have borderline personality disorder? I was like, what? No, that's not even on the table. Like, I'm not thinking about that. She goes, oh, okay. Because someone told me if I don't like the color orange, I might have borderline. And I was like, really? Who's this person who told you? And they're like, well, it's just something I saw on TikTok. But stuff like that, where it's like so off the wall that it's not. I feel like people who rely on TikTok for their stuff are just functionally illiterate. Like, go go find an article, go to scholar.google.com and
You
type
heard it
in.
here first. Peter Kingsley, if you're on TikTok, you're functionally an idiot.
No. I said functionally illiterate.
Oh, sorry. Peter Kingsley said it here first. If you're on TikTok, you can't read, you big fucking moron.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
Negative.
I've been doing real well lately, but today I'm slipping into the swears. Sorry, Mom.
A little sweary today.
Sorry.
Well, to add a little bit of credibility to what we're saying,
a little bit. We are professionals with degrees and licenses. We are very credible.
Yeah. What are you drinking today, Taylor?
Not important. It's another fantastic can of Zoa energy drink. Today is white peach instead of frosted grape. I'm going to have fun bleeping that one out too.
It's a White Russian? What?
It is not a White Russian. I don't drink. I've never had alcohol.
Okay. In terms of therapy, how effective is therapy when it comes to anxiety? Therapy is very effective. Anxiety and depression have been studied ad nauseum when it comes to therapy. And in fact, as we've always said, the relationship with your therapist is the most important. I found a scoping study that involved random controlled trials between a placebo, cognitive therapy, and acceptance and commitment therapy. And these are different types of therapy, including no treatment at all. And they found that acceptance and commitment therapy was as effective as cognitive therapy in different ways. They found different ways that they were effective. But in general, statistically significant findings were found in most of their assessments, their formal assessments. They used the Beck Depression Screener, quality of life indicators. Yeah. 5 out of.
Pete, why is your head turned to the side?
Because I'm trying to read this table out of this study. Anyway,
okay.
5 out of.
I thought we were just
5 out of 8.
Cool.
No, yeah, this is cool. 5 out of 8 were statistically significant. When you run an analysis, it's very low chance that it was by chance. Anyway, this was a randomized control. The title of this study was a randomized controlled effectiveness trial of acceptance and commitment therapy and cognitive therapy for anxiety and depression. Whew. Coming out of the Drexel University, the magazine is Behavior Modification in 2007. I know that was a while ago, but a lot of studies say the same thing over and over again through the years.
19 years ago.
Holy cow. It was 19 years ago.
2007. Yeah.
Well, I found
We're old men.
Same thing in 2013, same thing in 2015. Scoping studies that were done just for cognitive therapy that were supportive of it. But I chose this one because it included acceptance and commitment therapy, which is more like life sucks. What are we going to do about it type of therapy, which is what I've heard Taylor say over and over again. So I thought this one was fitting. Acceptance is.
I'm backed by science now.
Yes, exactly. You didn't know it. Maybe you resent it, but what you do works by science.
Don't tell me what I do works. I resent that, Pete.
Yeah. Well, here you are.
I know it works. I just can't prove it.
No, yeah. Yeah. Well, now you know it works. All these smart people with letters after their name coming out of a university, publishing in a peer-reviewed journal. They say it works. Several types of therapy work when it comes to anxiety. And this is clinical anxiety. This is not like I'm not making eye contact with people type of anxiety, which is a big difference.
Yes. Why is it important, Pete, to approach anxiety in a healthy way?
In a healthy way. Let's see. I think approaching anxiety in a healthy way is kind of like, well, forgive the metaphor, but it's kind of like a flare up of any kind of STI or something. Like one guy I met, I was doing a crisis intervention in Washington State. They called me out at whatever time of night it was because this guy had made suicidal comments. So the cops were called, and then they called a therapist out there to do crisis intervention with the police. And he had just received the diagnosis of an STI. And he said basically his life was over. He's a single guy. He likes going to clubs. He meets girls, and that's what he does. And he felt like his life was over. So he made a comment to a friend on a text. And the friend called the police because they were worried about him. And talking with him over the next couple hours in his house, we told the police they could leave. He was fine. He was just really sad that like he had to cope with this change. But he thought honestly that it was a death sentence. Like he was going to die from this thing, that it was with him forever, and that he will always have this, he will always have open sores, that he always has to like he can't have sex anymore, basically, ever. That's what he believed. And I was like, well, I'm not an expert at this, but I believe it's you get flare-ups and you take medication and you manage the flare-ups, and then it goes down and you keep taking the medication to manage the like it comes and goes. And he was like, what? I'm like, I don't know. That's what my understanding was. I didn't think it was like you have open sores all the time, that you just have a flare up. And so his understanding of like, this is it for me, it's over, was so devastating that he became suicidal. And I think people who have anxiety, if you're dealing with it in an unhealthy way, you're adopting it as a personality trait, and you're saying, this is me for the rest of my life. I am anxious and horrible. And in therapy, when I've seen success, it is managing the flare-ups. It is when you say, "Ooh, my anxiety, I'm getting to a 7. I'm at an 8. Okay, I'm at an 8 right now. Well, what do I have to do with an 8? What do I do with an 8?" And then the energy doesn't come towards doing the dishes before company comes over. The energy comes towards, what am I saying to myself? You turn your energy inward, and you're like, my anxiety's at an 8. Is that appropriate? No. Oh, man. Okay. Like, this is not so bad. My friends will come over. I have dishes in my sink, and that's okay. They can see dirty dishes in my home, or whatever you do to manage the
Yeah.
flare-ups. But I think
That sounds like a very CBT forward way to approach that, which is very effective when dealing with anxiety. What's the thought process? What's the error? Let's address the error.
yeah, exactly. And basically noticing first is always when you have an issue, especially a mental health issue, it's first step is noticing. So I think in dealing with it in a healthy way is not pretending that it doesn't exist, not pretending that it is part of you, then will always be there and there's nothing you can do about it, and that's just the way you are, and everyone else should deal with it or something. You just manage the flare-ups. Well, let me turn it towards you then. Having a healthy reaction, I kind of had a cognitive approach to this when I said you think about your thinking, like what am I telling myself and how's it making things worse. How would you deal with it? Somebody has company coming over, they have dirty dishes, and they notice their anxiety is really, really bad. So they stop having friends over, something like that. They're coming to you because they're like, they can't have friends anymore.
I usually just tell them they're probably right. They're bad people.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that awkward
People live in
tension.
truth.
I laugh because there's this tension there. When you say that, though, when you say that, yeah, you're probably right, and you automatically agree with it, there's this tension, and I know that it's wrong. I know that it's ridiculous, and I laugh because it's like, wow, this is. Aren't you gonna
So part of it is
fight
let's
with me on
pop the
this?
bubble on it, right? So let's say I'll go into full therapy mode, Pete, and let's do a fake therapy session right now.
Oh,
and you be the
perfect.
presenting
Good
character.
idea. Okay, so I'm the anxious person. It's been okay. It's been 2 months. I haven't had. I'm usually really I like to host people. I'm a very social person, and for like 3 months now, I haven't had anybody over because this stupid apartment that I'm in, the hot water doesn't like come out super hot all the time, and so I can't do the dishes. So the dishes pile up, and so now I don't invite. I try to have people over, but you know the dishes are all over the place, and nobody wants to have like a go into an apartment with crappy when it's all dirty. So it just bothers
Sure.
me that I'm so worried about the dishes. and now I'm a bad friend. People want to come over, and I say no.
Man, there's some big implications here. My first question is, why are you partying in the kitchen?
It's what do you mean? Part like
I mean,
it's an open thing. Like they can see into my kitchen from the other room.
okay, so let's say they come over and they see your dishes are dirty. What's the actual problem? So yes, you do have dirty dishes. They're going to come in and they're going to think, "Wow, this person eats food off of a plate." Ugh.
That they'll think that I don't take care of the apartment, that I'm a dirty person.
Okay, so are you a dirty person though?
No, that's the problem. Is I don't want them to think that.
Why would they think that you're a dirty person if you're not a dirty person? You're
Cuz
talking about, I had this anxiety that if they see this thing that is in a single part of my home, the assumption is that they'll think that I'm dirty and gross. Let's set that aside for just a moment, right? And let's think about what it is you're actually afraid of. Let's say you are perceived as a dirty person. Then what? The fear is that they'll
that
judge you?
yeah, yeah, that like I thing we know, like there are people who like smell bad and are dirty and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
you just don't want to be around them because they're
So
just
what I'm hearing you say
gross.
then is you think that people who are dirty are bad and that you are bad because you're dirty. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. Being a
Okay.
dirty person would be like being a bad person.
Okay. Well, we're at an interesting place then because if you're saying that your dishes are dirty, that means you're dirty and you're bad because you're dirty. And here I am sitting thinking like you're a pretty cool dude and I'd totally have dinner at your place. One of us is wrong. Sounds like you think it's me. So help me
But I
understand how
don't
I'm wrong because I don't think you're dirty and gross. I understand you have dirty dishes and I don't want to take away from the truth of that statement, but I know you have dirty dishes now. I know this because you've told me this. And yet I still think you're a cool dude and I totally love to hang out with you.
well
What am I missing?
the problem is that I don't feel like I'm a dirty person, but
Hmm.
I have dirty parts of me. Like the dirty, like it's not just dirty, it's like undone or like unfinished or like unorganized or something. Those parts of me are all over the place for people to see, and I know I'm not that way, but people who don't know that will think that.
Okay. So it sounds like you're afraid of being seen for who you are.
But I'm not that way.
Right. But what I'm telling you is that you kind of are because you do have dirty dishes. And that doesn't make you a bad person. That
Wait, you're
makes you a
saying
whole
so
person.
you're saying if I have dirty dishes, then I am a dirty person?
No, I'm saying you're saying if you have dirty dishes, you're a dirty person. I'm telling you you have dirty dishes and you're still a great person. There's a difference there. And I want to really separate the two. We have a problem that needs to be fixed, and we have the way you're approaching what it means about you. You do have dirty dishes, it sounds like, and we need to find a way to get them clean. And having dirty dishes does not in any way, shape, or form indicate your capacity to be a lovely person. If we need to put together a plan to wash dishes, great, let's do that. That sounds like it'll really solve a lot of problems for you. My fear is that you'll still think you're a bad person even if your dishes are clean and put away. You're talking about people seeing you for who you are, seeing past this version of yourself you're trying to project. That tells me that dirty dishes or not, you think there's something dirty inside of you, that if people see, they'll reject you for it. And I'm telling you, I know you have dirty dishes and I am fully embracing you as a person and I don't want to reject you at all, which means that you're not by default the kind of person who needs to be rejected if you're dirty. So let's clean the dishes up for sure. And let's see if we can figure out why it is that being dirty makes you rejectable. Because again, I know you have dirty dishes and I'm happy to keep talking to you because I'm enjoying the conversation. That is how I would
Okay.
approach that.
Break. Yeah, break. That made me feel at once full of like love and acceptance, like
Mm-hmm.
being called a lovely person while also terrified. Um
Uh-huh. That's
in
vulnerability, baby.
Yeah, in my acting though, it was, I know it's not a real person, but it was like you're saying I'm disorganized and I can be unclean in certain parts of my life and disheveled and all of that, facing the fact that I have disorganized dirty parts of me is
Mm-hmm.
scary. It was scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like wait a minute. So I just accept that? Like I just say that I'm unclean? And do I
And
know?
I would say that yes, and right. This is, I think a lot of people with anxiety fall into this trap where they think that's the end of the conversation. Oh, well, then I accept that I'm a dirty piece of garbage. Great. Thanks so much, therapist. No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. That is step one of many steps.
Yeah.
If you have dirty dishes in the sink, we are doing you no favors by pretending you don't have dirty dishes in the sink because that's lying to yourself. If you have dirty dishes, then you have dirty dishes.
Yes, but what
Let's not
then
pretend that's not the case.
is the question that
But what then?
I don't want
And the
to.
question that I ask that is the most important question to me is what does that mean about you? If having dirty dishes proves that you're bad, anytime you eat, you're proving to the world you're a bad person because you're using stuff and making it dirty. I want to push against that really hard. You will have dirty dishes. You do currently have dirty dishes. And all that means is that you have dishes you use to eat. You exist, and
But
there's proof that you
then
exist.
there's a
And that
balance
doesn't mean
between
you're
like
bad.
letting your dishes pile up and say, "Oh, I've learned to accept all that." Like,
There is.
and
But
then,
again, I want to push against the idea that we need to have everything done in one step.
oh, okay, so that
I
would be
need
another
you to
step.
accept.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
not.
I need you to accept that your dishes are dirty. And I need you to accept that that doesn't mean anything except that you have dirty dishes. And
eh,
if we need to solve the dirty dishes problem, let's solve the dirty dishes problem. But please don't tell me that I have to think about you a certain way because you have dirty dishes. I have dirty dishes too. Does that mean I'm a bad person? Does that mean you need to reject me? Every time I say something like that to a client, they always respond the same way. Of course not.
mhm.
Why would I be upset that you have dirty dishes? Well, then I get a pass that you don't. That's not fair. Let's push against that.
And then 6 months later, you'll be seeing them again because their kitchen is completely overrun with dirty dishes and rats are living in there.
Incorrect. Trust the process, baby.
No, I believe you. I believe you. But I think the threat is like with CBT, people say, "Oh, you're just telling me not to think badly about it. You're just like we're thinking about your thinking. Oh, you're just telling me not to have it bother me. Thanks a lot." And it was like, well,
Yeah.
no, there's
Well,
actually a long process to
mhm.
recognizing the extremes that you're using. And the language is really important. And the nuances of your thoughts are really important. It's not just don't let the thoughts bother you. So maybe it's the same
Yeah.
thing with like the feeling anxious about your dishes. It's not like don't let dirty
Yeah.
dishes completely not bother you, but they are there.
I still have my therapy hat on, so I'm going to apologize for everything I'm about to say.
Okay, go for it.
Right. So for me, it feels like in the conversation, the version of you that just showed up is trying to disprove the idea that accepting dirty dishes will be enough of a first step because you're looking for ways to poke holes in that. Well, fine, I accept it. Well, then what? 6 months from now, I'm going to show up and my house is going to be overrun. So there's your anxiety. The existential question is if I can't solve this, am I just going to get worse? And as a humanist, you know, my thought process is I need to show you that you have value in the truth. The truth
Hmm.
is you do have dirt and mess in your home. That does not touch your intrinsic value as a human being. If I can connect to that, I can keep you grounded. So when you're like, but I have all these things, and you start to spiral, like pull you out of the air and I attach you back to your chair. You are here right now. I see you. I know everything you're telling me, and I still hold value for you because you have that value intrinsically. I can work with you because you have value. I'm not afraid of the dirt because the dirt doesn't take away from your value. Everything this person that you represented is presenting is this idea that like my value is diminished because I have imperfection. I have diminished value because I have dirt. No, 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 no. You have value because you breathe. You have value because you have a unique way of viewing the world. And that value enriches my life. I want to protect that value. I want to protect who you are as a person. And I'd love to help you find ways to improve it. But I cannot work with a version of you that thinks you're bad because you're human. Let me love you. Let me accept you as a human being. And together, we as people, as community that is newly formed, can find solutions to the actual presenting problems while keeping the existential problems safe from being destroyed by the weight of the presenting problem.
And that's beautiful. You've mentioned several times. That's just amazing way to conceptualize that. It's constantly talking about the moment, like right now. You have dirty dishes. I
Mhm.
know that. You know that, and that exists right now. Yeah, but in 6 months, no, hold on. Like right now, are you a bad person right now? No, you're gonna
Mhm.
be a bad person in 6 months. We don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, your house
Probably
could be
not.
a total sty in 6 months, or in
Yeah,
6 months, you could not be.
yeah. Or you
Either
cannot
way,
be.
your value hasn't changed to me. I still love you as a person because you're breathing, and I love it.
Yep.
When we talk about the relationship and therapy being the thing, this is I'm very fortunate, man. Fortunately for me, this is how my brain actually works. Like this isn't a character I put on. I genuinely just love people, and the fact that you're breathing means you have value, and that's always my baseline approach. And if anxiety makes you feel like you don't have value, which I think a lot of people do, fine. I'm sorry you feel that way, but you're not convincing me that I shouldn't love you. You're not convincing me that your value is decreased. If anything, the more I learn about you, and this is true, I would say honestly of all my clients, the more I learn about them, the more like, oh, there you are. I love
Yes,
that.
I find that
I love that thing about
easier
you.
when you learn about people, and when they feel anxiety a whole lot, you're not putting a stamp on their foreheads. You're like learning the depth of the painting, like all the different shades of color
Yes.
of a person. And they tell you about their vacation that they had, and they're trying to focus on the anxiety of everything, but you're listening to connections with people, you're listening to the love of family, you're listening
Yes.
to like the concern they have for other people, and all they hear is anxiety, 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 but you're catching on all the
All I'm hearing is the beauty of people, the
yeah.
beauty of experienced life. So I'm gonna take my therapist hat off and put on my me hat again. Then I'm gonna give a little vulnerability right now, Pete. I was legitimately anxious doing that because I was like, what if I'm not good at what I do and Pete's gonna blow me up on the internet?
No way, really?
Totally.
Oh gosh, I thought it was
I this is
wonderful. During the whole thing, I thought, man, we should do this more often because I'm getting Taylor in his professional habitat. It was
I
beautifully sculpted.
my sense of self, I for most of my life had zero self-esteem, zero self-respect. Like when we were missionaries, we finished our missions at the same time in the same city. I remember really clearly 2 weeks before I went home, I was like, I should write a song. I'm going to write a song about having finished my mission. Now, when you start a mission, you're signing up for 2 years in a place where you don't have control. You don't choose where you go. And I spent 2 years in the former Soviet Union. I got my mission calls like, well, there's one more thing I'm going to fail at. There's no way I can
Oh
do this.
man.
This is too big. So 2 weeks before I went home, I was like, I'm going to write a song about this. I couldn't do it because I started crying every time because I literally could not believe I actually had done it.
Wow. That is such a
I
good thing for you. I mean,
Oh
to have
yeah, it
done
was
that.
life changing. But for up until probably honestly 31, I just thought that I was bad at everything I did.
Hmm.
And so like there's little vestiges of that version of myself. So Pete, you are extremely intelligent and well read and very clinically minded. It was scary to me to be like, I'm going to show you how I actually work. And then you started pushing on it and trying to poke holes in it. And I had to calm myself down and say, no, 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 no. If we're really doing this, really therapize, really go full therapy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I did, and it was really scary. So there's me being vulnerable. My anxiety is that you're going to find out that I actually am not good at what I do. Truly, that's my anxiety. That people will come and see me and be like, "Oh, you don't know what you're doing at all, do you?" I know
Wow.
it's not true, but it is my fear. There's my anxiety.
Well, I won't therapize you, but if I was, I would ask you about what mistakes would look like in therapy.
Hmm.
So, dear listener, how did you think that Taylor did?
No, 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 no.
No, it'll be.
We don't need.
That was Taylor's anxiety exploding like a pimple just
Yes,
now.
just all.
Yeah, don't worry, because I have faith that the responses will be overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly
I
positive.
feel my face getting bright red.
Or this could be that one episode we get a troll. Oh man,
Someone finds like, yeah, you actually do suck.
Taylor's.
You know what? I'm a big proponent of being a person.
Anxious sound
And
again.
so,
That's what it was.
oh man, I really, really feel like part of. I don't want to talk about responsibility necessarily because I hate the idea that therapists are superheroes, and I do feel like I have a responsibility on some level to show people that I think I'm really good at my job. I really do, and that doesn't mean that I don't have holes, that I don't have things I'm working through. As a human being, I do struggle with self-esteem sometimes. I think I keep it out of the therapy room pretty well. And just as a heads up, like sometimes I get a little bit of imposter syndrome. In fact, starting this podcast, my number one fear was that it would become so obvious that I'm bad at what I do that it would fall apart and I'd lose everything.
Well,
And
again, just like other
that's such
times.
a small part of my brain, but like I keep it really well contained, but that is absolutely part of the recipe. Go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry.
well then this is good for you then to do a podcast and actually get all this positive feedback we've gotten from listeners and emails and stuff. to that. Wow, this is actually interesting. It makes people think, and so that imposter syndrome devil on your shoulder is hopefully getting smaller.
I
Doesn't
think
go
it is.
away. We all need one, but getting smaller.
Yeah, my dishes are dirty,
Yes,
metaphorically speaking.
exactly. Yes. Everyone needs that devil on his shoulder saying your dishes are dirty, and you can turn and say, yes, they are. And then you go on with your day.
Hmm.
Perfect.
I have another client who we've named the devils on his shoulders, and I won't name them because obviously HIPAA. But we've come to the realization that the devil on his shoulder, the mean guy, has been used as a way to instigate him to be his best version of himself. He just uses it with a toxic edge. And
Oh,
so
interesting.
when he
Yeah.
hears that voice now, he's like, I recognize that what you're telling me has some truth in it. And if I can pull the truth out of the toxicity, I can actually become a better version of myself. And that was like a year and a half to get to that point. But
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, it was good
A
stuff.
way to handle anxiety in a healthy way. That would be another one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We have one final question in our last few minutes of this. Is it possible to use anxiety as a way to avoid responsibility for personal choices and action?
Oh, it's everything is possible. So you have to say yes, it is possible. Is it common? I'd say more so with personality disorders who are really sensitive to any kind of distress. You feel any kind of
Hmm.
discomfort or something goes awry slightly in your life and you just fall apart. I would say anxiety is not necessarily what you use. That sounds like deliberate and manipulative, but it's kind of like the cause. It's like the start of it. You break apart because I can't even, had an argument again with my neighbor. I'm going to get evicted. Gah! It's like, dude, no.
Yeah,
People have arguments with their neighbors. It's fine.
yeah. I think it is possible. I don't think it's advisable. Um,
Yeah. Not
I don't.
advisable. No.
Yeah, I don't know that. Well, let's see here. Can you use anxiety as a way to avoid responsibility? Yes. Can you use anxiety as a way to not be responsible? No.
Mm. I
I think an important distinction.
saw somebody, may or may not have been a teenage female in my TikTok research, in a bathroom stall, videoing herself crying,
What?
saying,
What TikToks are you watching?
no, it was like herself going, ah, and is like, I can't go to class, having a panic attack or something like that.
Uh,
And not to take away the legitimacy, she may have been having a panic attack, but using TikTok as a form of like social support. I don't know. But my perception was that it was pretty fake. Like she was like, looking around, and that it was staged. And when you talk about using anxiety as a way to avoid responsibility, it was kind of like, are you anxious? What are you anxious about? Like, I understand you feel anxiety. Having a panic attack is like a big deal.
mhm.
And I don't think you would think to take your phone out and videotape yourself and get 3 takes of it. Um, yeah. So
Yes.
avoiding responsibility. I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith. I was having a panic attack in the bathroom. I couldn't come to class.
Yeah, and then if you don't show the right amount of sympathy, sometimes people can use that. And this again, like I've seen men in their 60s do this. This is not a teenage girl problem necessarily,
I'm
but this
sorry.
is
This is just what I saw. It really is.
yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, no, this is more for people who are like, stop picking on the girls.
Yeah.
This is not a teenage girl problem, and Pete
Yeah.
is not saying that.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, I think that there, it bothers me when people say I had too much anxiety, so I didn't do the thing that needed to get done.
Oh, right.
And I get that on some level. I have been so anxious; it's been paralyzing at times in my life. I was still accountable for the things that did or did not happen while I was anxious, though. And so, in all of the pop psychology stuff, I think the grounding existential question behind every single one of these we'll ever do is it okay to use this as an excuse? And resoundingly, no. I think this, and I'm sure there will be some pushback with this from some people. I think there are situations where, like, if someone's having like a PTSD attack or a panic attack, please don't drive down the highway if you can avoid it, right? Like, I'm not saying don't treat yourself well. What I am saying is anxiety is not a personality trait and it's not an excuse. It is the only excuse anxiety could be, or I think should be, obligation to yourself and your own growth is the obligation to face it and overcome it to the best of your ability. It will never go away necessarily, but that doesn't mean it needs to stop you dead in your tracks every time. And it doesn't justify stopping in your tracks every time. Sometimes, yes.
Not every
Not every
time.
time.
I would have to think about that. What do I consider to be an excuse and what to be a reason? And we're talking about generalized anxiety disorder, or yeah, anxiety. It could be a part of a panic disorder, PTSD. I've had a few veterans miss work because they had a PTSD trigger happen to them on the way to work.
Hmm.
And so, how would they explain that? They come to work and do they say my PTSD was super bad, I couldn't make it, or do they say I'm really sorry, I'll try to do better, or next time, like I'm sorry I missed work, and they don't mention their PTSD at all. Um, I think one of those is an excuse and one is a reason. Um,
Yeah.
and I but coming to see me as a therapist and they say I couldn't go to work because my PTSD was flaring up and they tell me the reason, that's different than telling their boss the reason they couldn't go to work and using that. So I don't know. I think sometimes it could be a legitimate reason for not making it, but how they're using that reason turns into an excuse.
Yes, absolutely. If it's just an excuse not to do stuff, it's happening. Therefore, I don't even have to try to push through it.
Yeah.
I take great exception to that. Not because, again, there are times and places where your emotions can absolutely overwhelm you. Again, I've been there. I was at work and had a panic attack one time. The only panic attack I ever had. I had to go to the bathroom and I cried for 15 minutes straight while I waited for it to pass. It happens,
Hmm.
and I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying you are bad if that happens. All I'm saying is I then had to go back to work,
Yeah. You
you
can't,
know,
using it every time is like your silver bullet for hard things. That's
for your
different than,
Wolverine.
yeah. Your Wolverine. Oh man, that's a throwback to a couple episodes ago. But
I
anyway,
synthesized the last one.
yeah. Okay.
So the point is,
Yeah. The point
you
is,
didn't seem to get us mad that time. That's fun.
feeling anxious is not the same as having anxiety. And if you feel like you have anxiety, go to therapy and you can parse out whether it is generalized anxiety disorder or a slew of other things that include anxious distress. Could be a whole lot of
Hmm.
other things. Or it could be that you just feel anxious about
And one
something
more time for
legitimate.
the people in the back. TikTok is not therapy.
No, no. Oh man, the T in TikTok does not stand for therapy.
No.
Okay.
What a fun conversation, Pete.
Yes, it was great. Thank you for therapizing the fictitious Pete about my dirty dishes.
Yeah.
I feel no
Thanks
need
for
to do
not
my.
telling me you hate me.
I know that's always an underlying fear, but not this week. Maybe next week.
Maybe next week.
All
Cool.
right. See you,
All
man.
right. Love you, Pete.
Love you. Bye.